Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into something that literally sends shivers down the spines of engineering hopefuls everywhere. We are going to dissect the terrifyingly brilliant JEE Advanced 2024 Paper 2 Mathematics section. We're using the official FIT-JEE solutions as our scalpel to really get into the skin of this exam and see exactly how it works.
So what does it actually take to crack one of the hardest math exams on Earth? It's really easy to look at a paper like this and just feel completely defeated before you even pick up a pen, right? Well, today, we're going to flip that script. We're going to see how we can break down a massive wall of complex, intimidating mathematics into elegant, solvable logic.
To keep things from getting overwhelming, we've broken down this massive solution document into a clear roadmap. We'll decode the beast itself, tackle trigonometry and limits, navigate coordinate geometry, face down the calculus challenge, unravel probability and algebra, and finally, wrap up with the winning strategy.
Section 1. Decoding the math beast. Look, we have to start by acknowledging the elephant in the room. This exam has an infamous reputation, and it is absolutely designed to be brutal. But the key is figuring out how to approach it without panicking. Because here's the crucial takeaway. This test isn't just about how fast you can crunch numbers, not at all. Beneath all that terrifying notation and those multi-layered questions, there's actually a recognizable anatomy of core concepts. It's like a giant puzzle. Once you learn to recognize the underlying patterns, the whole beast suddenly looks way more manageable.
Moving on to Section 2, Trigonometry and Limits. This is exactly where the paper usually tries to shock you right out of the gate.
Just think about the sheer density of the notation in question 1. You've got inverse sines and inverse cosines stacked on top of each other like an absolute nightmare. You kind of have to ask, who writes this stuff? But the FIT-JEE solution reveals something kind of beautiful. By using foundational identities, this massive, intimidating cluster just melts away. It steps down into a basic inverse tangent formula. What starts as a total mess becomes a standard tangent subtraction, and boom, you get a clean, simple fraction. The complexity is totally an illusion.
We actually see a very similar theme in question 3 with limits. You're hit with this massive exponential limit equation. But instead of getting bogged down in tedious, messy calculations, the real trick here isn't doing more math, it's stepping back and realizing that the limit gives you a 1 to the power of infinity indeterminate form. Spotting that specific pattern perfectly sets up logarithms and L'Hopital's rule. Take the derivative of the top and bottom, and those complex sine and cosine terms just neatly resolve into a simple algebraic equation where our unknown variable k equals 2. It's all about grabbing the right tool for the job rather than fighting the math.
All right, Section 3, Navigating Coordinate Geometry. This part of the exam is entirely about turning abstract equations into pictures.
Question 7 is a brilliant example of how grounding abstract algebra in visual geometry is a total game changer. We've got tangents to a parabola, y squared equals 8x, intersecting at a point on the x-axis. Now, instead of getting completely lost in pages of coordinate crunching, simply sketching it out reveals the symmetry. By visually mapping the tangent slopes and intersections, the solution elegantly proves that the orthocenter of the resulting triangle sits perfectly at the origin, 0, 0. Literally just seeing the shape solves the problem.
And we see this visual strategy taken even further in question 12. We're handed a normal line drawn to a downward-facing parabola. Sounds messy, right? Well, the aha moment here isn't some brutal algebraic factorization. The solution does something incredibly clever. It literally just rotates the entire coordinate axis by 90 degrees clockwise. Just like that, our weird downward parabola becomes a standard, friendly right-facing parabola. Our starting point shifts, the slope changes predictably, and a complex normal line transforms into a super-standard, easily solvable equation. Now that is lateral thinking at its absolute finest.
Next up, Section 4, the Calculus Challenge. This is the zone where areas and integrals take center stage, and where the exam really tries to drain your clock.
Take question 13. It asks us to find where a definite integral function equals 0. And of course, the function inside the integral is a piecewise absolute value nightmare. But instead of calculating a massive integral step by step for every single interval, notice how the top-tier approach beautifully visualizes the function on a graph as a simple sawtooth wave. It literally just forms triangles above and below the x-axis. To figure out where the total integrated area zeroes out, you just glance at the graph and see exactly where the positive and negative triangles perfectly cancel each other out. This really highlights the difference between brute forcing your way through calculus and using an elegant geometric approach. The brute force method, that's going to take pages of working out, and you're risking algebraic errors at literally every single step. But the geometric area approach gives you the answers 3, 5, and 7 almost instantly just by looking at the geometry of the graph. This visual shortcut is for sure what separates a good test taker from a truly great one.
Let's roll into Section 5, Probability and Algebra. In the JEE Advanced, these domains often act less like standard math problems and more like complex logic games.
In question 8, we run into a functional equation, f of x plus y equals f of x plus f of y. Now, if you haven't seen this before, it looks totally unsolvable. But if you know your patterns, you treat this exactly like a logic puzzle. Realizing that this specific additive property perfectly maps to a linear function, f of x equals k times x, makes the intimidating algebra incredibly straightforward. You just plug in the given values, solve for k, which turns out to be minus 20, and the rest of the problem simply falls right into place.
Then we have a classic probability setup in question 9. Let's look at the starting conditions. Picture a bag of n balls, 3 white, 6 green, and the remaining ones are blue. We're drawing 3 balls, one after the other, without putting them back. We are given a conditional probability relationship and then asked to find the total number of balls, n.
The real trick here is just keeping your head clear and your notation tidy. By carefully translating the conditional probability given in the question, the probability of drawing a blue ball third, given a white first and green second, into structured algebraic fractions, we can build a solid equation. The math shows exactly how setting up a numerator and denominator based on combinations perfectly isolates our single unknown variable n. And from there, the big, scary probability question just collapses into basic high school algebra. 9n minus 81 equals 2n minus 4. Solving that simple linear equation gives us our dramatic final answer. The total number of balls in the bag, n, is exactly 11.
Finally, Section 6, the winning strategy. Because at the end of the day, raw mathematical knowledge simply isn't enough to tame this beast. You have to know how to play the game.
The absolute most crucial element of your strategy is understanding the severe negative marking of the exam. Section 1 deducts a point for a wrong answer. Section 2, the multiple correct section, brutally deducts 2 whole points for a mistake. That demands extreme precision. But check out Sections 3 and 4, the integer and numerical value questions, 0 negative marking. That completely flips how you should take the test. It means you can take educated risks and problem solve aggressively in the back half of the paper.
Knowing exactly which questions to skip and which ones to attack visually is the ultimate secret of the JEE Advanced. If a calculus problem looks like it's going to take 3 pages of algebra, skip it, or find a visual shortcut like we saw with the triangle areas. If a multiple correct question seems like a trap, tread carefully. Your test-taking strategy is essentially your armor. We really hope this explainer has shifted your perspective. By digging into these official solutions, we've seen that the JEE Advanced isn't just a wall of impossible math. It's actually a series of puzzles just waiting for the right perspective, the right visual trick, and the right strategy. Hopefully, you're walking away from this feeling a little less overwhelmed and a lot more empowered, eager to dive deeper into the beautiful underlying logic of mathematics. So, the next time you face a problem that looks totally impossible, ask yourself, what pattern am I missing? Thanks so much for joining me.